Fire Force Season 1 begins by showing an old man in a subway speeding towards one of the subway stops. Without warning or sign, he suddenly exploded and started burning all over his body before finally going wild and spreading fire throughout the subway. When it arrived at the next station, the subway he was riding was already on fire, making all the station passengers run in fear. But among the passengers, a young man named Shinra Kusakabe just stood there in front of the subway and witnessed what is known as the fireman phenomenon. Shortly after that, the special firefighters extinguished the fireman who had come out of the subway. At the same time, Shinra saw a lamp about to fall on a nun from a distance, so he quickly released his jet flame power to save the nun. He then introduces himself to the special firefighters as a new member of the 8th Division who will soon join the special firefighters. After arriving at the headquarters of the special firefighters, Shinra met the captain and vice captain of the 8th Division named Takehisa Hinawa and Akitaru Obi. After looking at Shinra's resume, Captain Obi asks why his photo on the CV looks weird with a smirk and a glare. He then explained that he had a special disease where he would smirk when nervous or tense. After that, Captain Obi asked about the biggest reason and motivation for him to join the special firefighters. With a serious face and strong determination, he replied that he joined the Special Fire Force because he wanted to be a hero. In the afternoon, Captain Obi gathered all the members of the 8th Division and re-explained the so-called fireman phenomenon. Fireman is a phenomenon when a person suddenly gets burned and starts to lose consciousness, so they go wild. The task of the special firefighters is to rest the fireman by destroying the fireman's heart. All efforts were made to save firemen from pain in the last seconds of their lives and save those around them. In addition, another task of the special forces is to investigate what is the main cause of the fireman phenomenon. That night when Shinra rested, he remembered the memories of the past when he was still with his mother and little brother. Since he was a child, he had a dream to become a hero so that he could protect his mother and his little brother. Unfortunately, one bad day happened when his house burned down, and all his family members died in the fire. Everyone blamed Shinra for the incident because they assumed that his firepower was the cause of the fire. After a horrific incident, he begins to suffer from a strange disease where he will grin when nervous or scared. Since then, he has often been dubbed a devil because he smiled after the death of his family. Shortly after that, Shinra woke up from his sleep because the fire alarm had sounded, and all members of the special firefighters had to immediately go to the fireman's location. The 8th Division Special Firefighters consist of 5 people, Captain Obi and Iris, a nun who does not have the firepower. Then there is the Vice Captain Hinawa and a female member named Makioze, who has the power of second-generation fire, where they can only control fire without being able to create fire. While the last member is Shinra, who has the power of third-generation fire where they can control and create their own fire. After all members of the 8th Division Special Firefighters prepared quickly, they immediately rushed to a factory that caught fire. The wife of the factory owner suddenly turned into a fireman. She burned the entire area inside the factory so that when the special firefighters entered the factory, they were blocked by a very high firewall. Fortunately, Maki could control the wall of fire and pave the way for all members of the special firefighters. The fireman was getting wild and out of control, so Captain Obi and Vice Captain Hinawa started shooting at the fireman. With Maki's help, Captain Obi managed to attack the fireman using his axe, and Shinra immediately ended the fireman's victim with a fiery kick. After the special firefighters have rested the firemen, Iris will pray for the firemen's souls so their souls can rest in peace. After the first mission, Shinra witnessed the citizens praising the special firefighters' prowess and felt that he had achieved his dream. The next day, Captain Obi told Shinra that soon, there would be a new warrior competition. That day the 8th Division would receive a new member who would become his partner in the new warrior competition between divisions. The new member who will join the 8th Division is someone he already knows because they come from the same academy. Even though they came from the same academy, Shinra and a new member named Arthur Boyle didn't seem to get along. Arthur has the power of third-generation fire like him, but Arthur also has another ability where he can create a plasma sword called Excalibur. That day when they did training together with Maki, she showed her other power where she could turn fire into a creature named Boo. Not long after, they again received a call for a mission to extinguish a fireman in one of the houses of the civilian population. Surprisingly, the fireman in the house didn't turn wild, so Arthur could easily kill the fireman with his Excalibur sword. Not only that, when all the special firefighters were praying for the soul of the fireman, a black powder suddenly appeared and destroyed the building. Fortunately, all the firefighters were unharmed and made it out safely. They could even salvage a family photo in the house and give it to the fireman's daughter, who had died. The scene switches to a hidden laboratory, the headquarters of the man who previously sprinkled black powder on the fireman's house. The mysterious man named Joker talks with the scientist who created the black powder about Shinra joining the special firefighters. A few days later, a new soldier competition between special firefighting divisions began, and all new members from each division were assigned to complete a rescue mission. While all the new members were running, Shinra used his jet flame power to fly up and enter the building early. While inside the building, he met Joker, who had defeated the race committee's senior firefighters. He attacks Joker with his firepower, but Joker can easily counterattack using a black powder that can detonate fire. After that, Joker tells Shinra that he knows what happened in the fire incident that killed Shinra's family a few years ago. Joker also tells him that his younger brother didn't die in the accident and is still alive today. Hearing this, he still couldn't believe Joker's words and began to ask what Joker's real purpose was. Joker replied that he could tell Shinra more information if he was willing to leave the special forces and join him as a demon. He furiously refused Joker's offer and attacked Joker with the power of a fiery kick. Shortly after that, Arthur and a girl from Division 1 appeared and helped Shinra to attack Joker. Unfortunately, Joker escaped after he sprinkled explosive black powder in the room. Shinra, Arthur, and the girl rushed to save their two seniors and took them away before the building exploded. After that, the captain of the 1st Division named Burns and the girl who had previously helped Shinra named Tamaki thanked him for saving their members. That night when Shinra is alone with Captain Obi, he tells Shinra that the Special Fire Force is divided into 8 divisions. Although all divisions have the same task, namely to arrest the firemen, each keeps the information they get secret. Therefore, the 8th Division has a secret mission to investigate the troops from Divisions 1 to 7 and uncover the truth they are hiding. The next day, Vice Captain Hinoa gave a report to the members of the 8th Division about the results of the research he carried out on the explosive black powder distributed by Joker. After Captain Obi found out that the black powder was from the ashes of the firemen that had been burned to the ground, he was furious because Joker did not respect the souls of the firemen and instead used their ashes as weapons. The scene changes to a court where a former firefighter named Setsuo Miyamoto, who turned into a serial killer, is undergoing his final trial. At the trial, after the judge found him not guilty for psychological reasons, he suddenly turned into a fireman and began attacking the judge. The 8th Division Special Firefighters who received a report of the incident immediately rushed to the court office. Shinra and Arthur arrived at the location and immediately attacked Miyamoto with their firepower, while Captain Obi and Vice Captain Hinoa were surprised that Miyamoto, who had turned into a fireman, still had consciousness. Shortly after, Miyamoto jumps on top of the building and runs away, saying he will kill everyone. Captain Obi and Vice Captain Hinoa also asked Shinra to chase Miyamoto with his fire jet power and tell the location of Miyamoto's whereabouts after he managed to find him. After Shinra managed to find Miyamoto, he attacked Miyamoto repeatedly, causing Miyamoto to call him a demon. Just when he was about to kill Miyamoto, the 5th Division captain named Hibana suddenly appeared and stopped him. She said that Special Firefighters Division 5 will take Miyamoto for an investigation into the fireman who has consciousness. Shortly after, other members of the 8th Division Special Forces arrived at the scene to help Shinra arrest Miyamoto. Hibana then speaks to Captain Obi and asks that the 5th Division troops be allowed to take Miyamoto away because he is a fireman with consciousness. However, Captain Obi refused because Miyamoto's incident occurred in the jurisdiction of the 8th Division, so the 5th Division did not have the right to take any action against him. Hibana then persuaded him by saying that the 5th Division would discuss Miyamoto's research results with the 8th Division, so he agreed. On the next day, Captain Obi held intensive training for all members of the 8th Division because one day, they had to fight members of the Special Firefighters from other divisions. In the afternoon, Vice Captain Hinoa informs Shinra that Hibana can assume the position of captain because she has sold the research results on firemen to the institution that oversees the 5th Division, namely the Heijima Industry. He also suspects Hibana of being the one who discovered the fireman phenomenon's cause, so he plans to investigate the 5th Division. That night, Shinra got the news that Iris had disappeared, so they rushed to find her. It turned out that she went to the 5th Division Special Firefighters headquarters alone to meet her sister, Hibana. She tried to wake Hibana by saying that Hibana's practice of fireman research all this time was wrong and against the rules. However, Hibana didn't want to hear her words and instead burned the clothes she was wearing, saying that her nun job in the Special Fire Squad was useless. At the same time, the 8th Division Special Firefighters arrived at the 5th Division headquarters and began to divide the tasks where Shinra would look for Iris's whereabouts, and the other members will defeat the 5th Division members. Shortly after that, Shinra, who has managed to find Iris, begins approaching Hibana to attack her with the power of fire. However, he can easily be defeated by Hibana with the power of her chosen fire gaze, which can create heat in other people's bodies. He didn't want to give up and kept trying to attack her even though she could easily defeat him with the power of the fire gaze. Hibana has another, more powerful power where she can create cherry trees with hot flowers that can burn skin. Fortunately, Shinra could survive all the attacks she issued because of his strong determination. Shinra quickly moved closer to her and hit her in the face to make her aware of her mistakes. After successfully defeating Hibana, he said he would become her friend if she was willing to change into a better person. He also said that he will help anyone who is in trouble and needs help because his dream is to become a hero. The next day, the Special Firefighters, Divisions 5 and 8, reconciled after they had previously fought against each other due to differences in views on the fireman research method. In the afternoon, Hibana told Captain Obi that she would personally assist the 8th Division in investigating the cause of the fireman phenomenon. She explained that Shinra's hard slap had made her realize her mistakes, and seeing his determination to become a hero made her want to go back to fighting crime together. After that, Hibana told about the results of the research she had done so far. She found that the causes of fire in humans in this world are different because there are cases where fire humans occur because of someone's actions. She suspects that one of the man-made fireman cases occurred in the Shinjuku district, which is the jurisdiction of the 1st Division. The next day, Captain Obi found a way so they could investigate the special firefighters of the 1st Division. He will send Shinra and Arthur to all novice soldiers to participate in the training carried out by the 1st Division troops. In this case, Captain Obi gives a secret mission to Shira and Arthur to investigate people from Division 1 who are suspected of being able to create the artificial fire human phenomenon. To help complete the mission, Hibana will also send soldiers from other divisions so that the 1st Division does not suspect the dispatch members from the 8th Division. She sends a young man named Toru Kishiri, a member of the 5th Division, and a female soldier from the 2nd Division. After arriving at the 1st Division headquarters, Shinra and the others met up with Captain Burns and 3 other division representatives named Karim Flame, Lei, and Rekka. After Captain Burns greeted them, he allowed them to rest first. However, Shinra enthusiastically invites them to fight with the excuse that the captain of the 1st Division can judge their abilities. He also said that if he managed to beat Captain Burns in this training, he wanted to ask him something. Hearing this, Captain Burns agreed to Shinra's challenge and asked Rekka to oversee their training. Dual combat training is started by a new member of the 2nd Division named Takeru Noto, who looks timid but can create fire bullets. Vice Captain Karim can easily eliminate all of Takeru's fire bullets using the freezing bell device he has created so that Takeru is declared defeated. In the next duel match, Shinra and Arthur will fight Captain Burns head-on in a 2-on-1 battle. Captain Burns can easily block Arthur's Excalibur sword attack, and Shinra's fire kick is also successfully blocked by him. Shinra also began to fire kicks from all directions, but he did not budge with all the attacks. On the other hand, Captain Burns could easily defeat Shinra by sending him flying far away without even having to move from where he was standing at all. Time has passed, Shinra and the other new members have now undergone training for 5 days, and the training will continue for the next month. During lunchtime, the 1st Division headquarters gets a call of duty when the alarm signaling the appearance of the firemen goes off. Shinra and Arthur are tasked with accompanying Vice Captain Karim and resting the firemen. While on duty, Shinra saw a drunk man who suddenly exploded into a fireman after an unknown person placed a firebug on the man's body. Shinra and Arthur immediately rushed to chase the person who had brought the firebug. Still, when they arrived at the location, the person had managed to escape, and Shinra met Rekka and Karim instead. Shortly after, Tamaki came and reported to the 2 vice captains that the fireman at that location had been successfully arrested. Back at the base, Shinra and Arthur suspect that one of the vice captains of the 1st Division is the one who has caused the fireman phenomenon. Therefore, Shinra decided to investigate Karim and Rekka secretly so their actions would not be discovered. When Shinra and Arthur enter Rekka and Karim's room, they find the same firebugs as the insects they had previously seen at the fireman scene. Not long after, Karim suddenly came in and confessed that he had kept the insect because he also wanted to investigate who had created the artificial fireman phenomenon. He said that he suspected Rekka as the cause of the fireman because 2 months when Rekka was on duty to rest a small child who had turned into a fireman, he found the fire insect at the scene. Meanwhile, Tamaki seemed to be bringing some small children to an empty building as ordered by Rekka. He deliberately asked Tamaki to gather the small children in the old building because he claimed to have found a sacred prayer to protect children from the fireman phenomenon. Before the holy prayer process started, Rekka asked Tamaki to come out so they could focus more on praying for protection. However, she refuses to come out because she also wants to join in reading the protection prayer for the children. Hearing this, Rekka deliberately made Tamaki fall unconscious so that she would not know what he would do to the children. It turns out that Shinra and Karim's suspicions are correct. Rekka is the one who has brought fire bugs and deliberately put them on other people's bodies so they can turn into fire humans. Rekka then placed fire bugs on a boy's body, but strangely the boy didn't turn into a fireman. He excitedly said that the boy was the perfect person he had been looking for to perform a spark ritual. When Rekka was about to put the fire bugs on the other children, Tamaki, who had woken up, tried to get up and started screaming for help. Shinra, who heard her scream, immediately rushed to the old building and saved the boy who was almost sacrificed by Rekka. After Shinra arrived at the scene, he immediately jumped from the roof of the building and kicked Rekka in the face with a very strong fire kick. The fight between them was unavoidable, and they began to attack each other. During the fight, Rekka noticed that the fire bugs carrying them began to react to what Shinra had created. Knowing this, Rekka told Shinra that he was the person he had been looking for to join the Holy Priest organization because Shinra had a holy fire called Atala Burst. Rekka believes that Shinra is a fireman with the power of holy fire bestowed by the sun god. He then intends to burn the entire building by burning his own body and spreading the fire throughout the building. Fortunately, Karim arrived just in time and immediately covered Rekka's entire body with ice so that he couldn't use his power anymore. Not long after, Vice Captain Lei came to the location and intended to take Rekka into the 1st Division headquarters for interrogation. However, Rekka is suddenly killed by a fire attack that comes from the roof of the opposite building and is controlled by 2 mysterious white-hooded men. When the firebender fired another attack at Karim, Lei spontaneously pushed his body, so he had to lose his right hand. Karim then asked Tamaki to fire a fire attack on the roof of the opposite building so that the 2 men would realize their location was known. The 2 mysterious men decided to leave the place because they didn't want their identities to be known. The scene switches to the Sun Empire, where the Emperor intends to gather all the captains of the Special Fire Force. Shinra and the rest of the 8th Division will go to the Palace of the Sun's Harshness with the members of the 5th Division to discuss the Holy Priestess and the white-hooded people who had previously killed Rekka. This meeting between captains was the first meeting held by the Sun Emperor, indicating that the current situation was getting serious. Shinra and Tamaki were also asked to attend this meeting between the captains because they were at the scene when Rekka conducted the firebug experiment on children. While at the Emperor's palace, Karim and the captains of the other special fire divisions had already attended the meeting. Shortly after, the Sun Emperor named Raffles III appealed to all captains to move together to catch the traitors, namely the Holy Priest group. However, the captain of the 7th Division named Benimaru rejected the plan because, so far, he had never trusted the Empire, and he only joined the special forces out of a sense of nationalism. After Benimaru left the room, Raffles summoned Shinra, known to have a holy fire called Atala Burst. Raffles said that the holy fire is the same fire used for thermal power plants that have been the source of energy in the country. Therefore, he asked Shinra to always keep the power of the holy fire from being lost or stolen by others. After the meeting, Captain Obi and the other members returned to their base while Shinra wanted to go around to see the thermal power plant called Amaterasu. While looking at the sacred fire in Amaterasu, Joker suddenly appeared and approached him to talk about something. Joker says he came to give information to Shinra because he has managed to get closer to the truth. Joker tells him to continue investigating the Holy Priest organization because his younger brother, Sho Kusakabe, is also in the organization. The next day, Captain Obi ordered all members of the 8th Division and Tamaki from the 1st Division to check all the case files they had handled so far to investigate the traces of the existence of the Holy Priest organization. But until the night came, Shinra and the others still didn't get any information regarding the whereabouts of the members of the Holy Priest organization. While having dinner together, Vice Captain Hinawa and the others were worried about Shinra being more reserved than usual, so they asked him what had happened earlier. He then tells about his meeting with Joker and all the things that Joker had told him before. He was worried because he couldn't believe that one day he would have to fight against his own little brother. But on the other hand, he actually wanted to believe that his little brother was still alive. After that, the 8th Squad regrouped to continue their investigation of the Holy Priest organization and the firemen. Vice Captain Hinawa said that the first case handled by the Special Firefighters Division 8 was a white-robed person wearing a red-named cross. After being investigated, the man who became a fireman worked in a company located in the jurisdiction of the 7th Division of the Special Fire Department. Therefore, the troops of the 8th Division decided to come to the 7th Division's headquarters to meet Captain Benimaru and ask for permission to allow them to conduct an investigation in the area. Captain Obi tries to persuade him to allow them to carry out the investigation by saying that a Holy Priest organization might appear in the 7th Division's jurisdiction. But Captain Benimaru still insisted on distrusting all things related to the Holy Priest organization, even though Shinra said he had seen people from the Holy Priest group firsthand. During that conversation, the bell that signaled the occurrence of the fireman phenomenon suddenly rang, so Captain Benimaru immediately rushed off to rest the fireman. The method used by him to rest the fireman is quite extreme. He will throw several large fire sticks to catch the fireman. The fire stick thrown by Captain Benimaru caused a huge explosion, destroying the surrounding residents' houses. But the area's inhabitants did not object to it because they believed that the destroyed house or building was an offering to the firemen. After the firemen's resting mission was over, Captain Benimaru ordered the construction workers to repair the houses that had been damaged. Division 8 members also helped members of the residents to repair houses that had been damaged because they would also be staying in the area for a while. The next day, when Shinra was playing with two twins named Hinata and Hikage, he accidentally saw burns on the body of the 7th Division Vice Captain named Konro Sagamiya. After Shinra left the room, Konro said to Captain Benimaru that the people of the 8th Division are people who have good intentions, unlike other divisions. Hearing Konro's words, Captain Benimaru finally agreed to the request of the 8th Division, who wanted to conduct an investigation in his territory. As Captain Benimaru leaves the room, Shinra asks him about the burns on Konro's body. He then explains that the injury occurred because Konro once forced himself to release firepower when his body reached its limit. The burns on his body are known as ash disease. If the disease worsens, the person with the disease can turn to ashes. That night, when Captain Benimaru was about to meet Captain Obi and Vice Captain Hinoa to discuss the investigation, he suddenly saw them who said that they were the ones who had caused other people to become fire. Hearing their words, he felt very angry and began to attack all members of the 8th Division. Fortunately, Konro was able to stop Captain Benimaru's attack and was able to calm him so that there was no bloodshed. A few nights later, Captain Benimaru talked with the members of the 8th Division in front of Konro, who was lying limp because his illness was worsening. Captain Obi and Vice Captain Hinoa then explained to Captain Benimaru that the two people he saw earlier were not them because they were in the shop opposite. After hearing this, he decided to go to the shop to ensure they were telling the truth. Konro then said that Captain Benimaru was very precious to him, so he was willing to sacrifice his cheap life for Captain Benimaru's sake. Hearing that, Shinra replied that there is no cheap life in this world because everyone's life is precious. Hearing his answer, Konro felt appreciated and thanked Shinra before leaving the room to look for Captain Benimaru. On the other hand, Captain Benimaru was unperturbed when he saw the residents of his district fighting each other and accusing each other of being a fraud. Even the twin girls Hinata and Hikage also fight because they accuse each other of being frauds or fake people. When Tamaki tries to break up the fight between Hinata and Hikage, Arthur suddenly kicks one of them until Hikage is unconscious. As a result, he was scolded and beaten by other members of the 8th Division Fire Department for beating a small child until he fainted. But as it turned out, the girl who was kicked by Arthur was not the real Hikage but an old man disguised as him. Konro and the others looked shocked to see all that and questioned what had actually happened in their city. Elsewhere, a white-hooded man named Yona is seen busy changing human faces using his special firepower. It turns out that he is the one behind all the fights and misunderstandings in the city of Asakusa, where the 7th Division firefighters are located. Another white-hooded female member named Aero had also prepared hundreds of firebugs to carry out their evil plans. Not long after, they began to spread firebugs in Asakusa and created many firemen phenomena simultaneously. She then says they should take advantage of the chaos to attack the 8th Division Special Fire Force. The 8th Division troops couldn't rest the residents because they were in the jurisdiction of the 7th Division troops and the residents only wanted their family members to be rested by Benimaru. Therefore, Captain Obi ordered all other members of the 8th Division to rescue residents trapped in the fire and evacuate other residents to safer places. But just as they were about to go to the rescue, they were suddenly attacked by fire from quite a distance away. Meanwhile, Konro and Hinata interrogate the old man who has disguised himself as Hikage and asks where the real location of Higeki is. Unfortunately, the old man didn't want to say anything and instead placed a firebug on his own body so that he turned into a fireman. Not long after, Vice Captain Hinoa and Captain Obi came to see Konro and said that the residents did not want to listen to the direction of the 8th Division troops. Hearing this, Konro immediately rushed to find Captain Benimaru's whereabouts so he could direct the residents to evacuate. At the same time, Shinra and the other members of the 8th Division Army still have to fight against the white-hooded group that attacked them. When he was caught and almost killed by the white-hooded group, Arthur arrived on time and was able to save him. Shinra and Arthur then cooperate with each other and unite their powers to attack the members of the white-hooded group. The 2-on-2 battle between members of the 8th Division and members of the white-hooded group was fierce until, finally, Arthur and Shinra managed to corner them. One of the white-hooded members told Aero to get out of there while he would stay and turn into a demon fireman. On the other hand, Captain Benimaru climbed a tower and flew into the sky so that the residents of Asakusa could see and hear him. He announces to the residents that there is an evil group who has disguised themselves as the residents of Asakusa and is causing chaos. Hence, he asks the residents to defeat the fake residents. After that, he also asks the residents to allow the 8th Division troops to rest the firemen and deal with the fires in their city. The scene back where Arthur and Shinra are fighting against a fireman who looks like a demon. In the middle of the fight, Shinra met one of the female members of the White-Horned group who said that his fire could destroy all of humanity. Before he could ask further about her words, she suddenly disappeared from the place. Not long after, Captain Benimaru appeared to help him defeat the demon-shaped fireman. After a very fierce battle, Captain Benimaru managed to lead the fireman into the sky so he could defeat and rest the fireman. While in the sky, Shinra realizes that Captain Benimaru was almost attacked by Aero's fire arrows, so he immediately sped up to save Captain Benimaru and block the fire arrows. The fight ended with Captain Benimaru, who had succeeded in defeating and resting the fireman in the form of a demon. The next day after the fight ended, the 8th Division firefighters returned to their base. Captain Obi got the news that the 8th Division troops will get additional members who will focus on research assignments because the 8th Division still does not have a research group. Hibana suspects that the Empire is up to something and has teamed up with the Heijima industry to spy on the troops of the 8th Division. It turns out that the person who was sent by the Empire to become a researcher in the 8th Division Army was the person who previously worked with Joker, Victor Licht. In addition to Victor, Captain Obi will also recruit someone to be a mechanic who will maintain all the equipment and vehicles of the 8th Division troops. Captain Obi then asks Shinra, Iris, and Arthur to go to a workshop and meet a young man named Vulcan. Unfortunately, after arriving there, Shinra and the others had a hard time persuading Vulcan to join the 8th Division because, from the start, he didn't like the existence of special firefighters. Vulcan, who was disturbed by the presence of the 8th Division troop members, intended to expel Shinra and the others. But after Iris and Arthur accidentally played with Vulcan's invention tools, he became interested in showing one of the inventions that he had created with his father. While showing a tool that can create holograms of natural landscapes and wild animals, Vulcan explains that he dreams of repairing the Earth damaged by fire and restoring a beautiful world for everyone. After learning that Vulcan is a person who cares about many people, Shinra again persuades him to join the 8th Division, but Vulcan refused and decided to leave them. After he left, Shinra and the others received information from one of Vulcan's students named Ryu that Dr. Giovanni was actually one of Vulcan's grandfather's students when he was still alive. However, the relationship between Dr. Giovanni and Vulcan is not so good because Vulcan considers him a traitor who killed his grandfather and father. In the past, Vulcan's grandfather always directed his students not to join the Special Fire Force, but since he died, Dr. Giovanni instead joined the Special Fire Force. That is why Vulcan hates him so much and accuses him of being a traitor who has killed his family. After hearing that explanation, Shinra suddenly felt bad about Dr. Giovanni and that Vulcan's life would be in danger. After he gets a vision about Dr. Giovanni's evil plans against Vulcan, he orders Iris and Arthur to find Vulcan and warn him. Meanwhile, he will go to higher ground to monitor the surroundings and provide a surprise attack when Dr. Giovanni's troops appear. When Iris and Arthur warned Vulcan, at first, he did not believe them, but after he saw the many white-hooded troops surrounding his workshop, he immediately believed them. Seeing this situation, Arthur said that the Excalibur sword he had was left in the base, so he couldn't fight because he could only channel his power through the laser sword. Hearing that, Vulcan immediately created a much more powerful laser sword so Arthur could fight against the white-hooded group. With a much greater power of light, Arthur could blow all the white-hooded troops because it turned out that the troops were just shadows and there were only 2 real people. After that, he must face a man who can create many shadows and change the shadow to resemble his enemy. The 2-on-1 battle between the white-hooded group and Arthur was quite fierce. On the other hand, Vulcan asks Iris to take Ryu and his girlfriend, Lisa, to a safer place. But strangely, she suddenly attacks them using the power of fire while admitting that she is actually a spy sent by the Holy Priest organization. She then forced Vulcan to hand over the Amaterasu key created by his grandfather and had been hidden by the Vulcan family. Not long after, Dr. Giovanni appeared and threatened Vulcan to tell him where the Amaterasu key was, or he would kill him. Vulcan, who doesn't know anything about the Amaterasu key, tries to convince Dr. Giovanni that he doesn't know the whereabouts of the key. However, because Dr. Giovanni doesn't believe Vulcan's words, he ruthlessly shoots Ryu's body until he becomes unconscious. Not long after, Dr. Giovanni realized about the tool that Vulcan and his father had created, so he took the initiative to dismantle the tool. And as he had predicted before, it turned out that the Amaterasu key was hidden inside the device. After Dr. Giovanni took the key, Shinra suddenly barged in and immediately attacked him. At the same time, Hibana also came to the workshop to help Arthur and Shinra defeat the army of Dr. Giovanni and the army of White Hoods. At first, Shinra had difficulty defeating Dr. Giovanni because he was trapped in the power of fire created by Lisa. Luckily, Iris was able to help Shinra escape from the flames by using Vulcan's puppet rain tool. Soon after that, Shinra attacked Dr. Giovanni until he was thrown out of the room and made him meet his little brother, Sho Kusakabe. It turns out that Sho is the leader of a white-hooded organization or holy priest organization that has been eyeing Shinra's Adala burst power. Unlike Shinra, who seemed happy after meeting Sho, he looked cold and attacked Shinra with the power to stop time. Arthur tries to help Shinra, but Sho can easily defeat them with a single sword slash. He then ordered his men to bring Shinra and take the Amaterasu key seized by Dr. Giovanni. Fortunately, before they kidnapped Shinra, Victor and Joker arrived just in time and saved him. The next day, Shinra and Vulcan wait for Ryu and Arthur, who are still unconscious at the hospital. While waiting in the waiting room, Vulcan said that he still hopes to turn Lisa into a good person so they can get back together. Hearing this, Shinra also supported Vulcan because he also intended to do the same for his brother. The next day, he asks Shinra to accompany him to the repair shop so he can apologize in front of his grandfather's meal for breaking his promise not to join the Special Fire Force. That means Vulcan has decided to join the 8th Division as a special mechanic so that he can help the 8th Division to fight crime. A few days later, Captain Benimaru gets a phone call from the 8th Division to help them do special training for Shinra and Arthur so they can become stronger. At the same time, Vulcan began his job as a special mechanic in the 8th Division and created various tools that could aid their mission. In the following days, Captain Benimaru began to train Shinra to increase his firepower and concentrate his attacks so that all of his attacks could be maximized. He trained hard to be able to focus his target attack and concentrate his strength at one point so that he could become stronger like Captain Benimaru. After quite a long and intensive training, Shinra could finally concentrate his strength and maximize his attack. One day, Sho and his members held a meeting to discuss the 8th Division special firefighters who had managed to track down their headquarters. He asked his members not to guard because one of the members of the 8th Division was the one who had the power of Adora Link. On the other hand, the 8th Division troops are gathering to plan an attack on the headquarters of the Holy Priest organization in a place called the Nether. Victor then explains that the Nether is located on a subway line that was long abandoned due to a fire case. The next day, all members of the 8th Division firefighters departed for the Nether with complete equipment to attack the Holy Priest's headquarters. After arriving in the Nether, they immediately entered the subway tunnel with the help of lighting from Maki's fire creatures. But as soon as they entered the tunnel, white smoke suddenly appeared and separated all members of the 8th Division troops. After the white smoke dissipated, Vulcan and Obi faced off against Doctors Giovanni and Lisa. At the same time, Iris and Tamaki had to fight against a member of the Holy Priestess named Assault. Elsewhere, Maki has to face off against 2 members of the Holy Priestess, one of whom can create shadows. Even though she had to face 2 people at once, she could still overcome their attacks by using some of the tools created by Vulcan. At the same time, Tamaki and Iris have also managed to defeat Assault with their genius tactics and combined attacks. In another part of the tunnel, Vice Captain Hinoa fights against Aero while Shinra tries to save Victor, who was almost killed by one of the Holy Priestess members. After a very fierce battle, Vice Captain Hinoa finally defeated Aero with a very strong fire. But just when Vice Captain Hinoa was caught off guard and began to run out of energy, 2 other members of the Holy Priestess appeared to kill him. Luckily, Arthur arrived just in time to save Hinata and defeat their enemy. Back to Vulcan and Captain Obi, who has to fight against Doctors Giovanni and Lisa. They also tried to persuade her to return to him and made her aware that Dr. Giovanni was only using her. But instead of hearing their words, she attacked Captain Obi with the power of a fire rope. Fortunately, Captain Obi overcame the attack using an explosive device created by Vulcan so that Lisa's firepower could be dispelled easily. When she almost fell because she lost control of her power, Vulcan immediately moved to catch her. Upon seeing Vulcan's sincerity, Lisa realizes her mistake and intends to reunite with him. Unfortunately, Dr. Giovanni uses the opportunity to take her hostage and force Vulcan to kill Captain Obi. Thankfully, Captain Obi had used a bulletproof suit underneath his uniform so he was still alive and they could attack Dr. Giovanni together. After attacking Dr. Giovanni with the weapon he created, Vulcan immediately rushed over to Lisa, who was already lying weak. When Captain Obi was about to attack Dr. Giovanni, he had already left them because his task of bringing Shinra and Sho together had been completed. On the other hand, Shinra had managed to find Sho thanks to the demon's footsteps that he followed. Initially, he was happy to have met Sho. Still, the fight between them was unavoidable because Sho started attacking him. Shinra's Adora Link suddenly activated during a fierce battle, and they moved to another dimension. Sho explains that Adora Burst's holy fire and human fire phenomena originate from that world. Not long after, the Holy Priest suddenly appeared in front of Shinra, which made him angry because the Holy Priest had used Sho to create the human fire phenomenon. But before he could attack the Holy Priest, Shinra and Sho suddenly transferred to their previous world. The fierce battle between them happened again, where both had extraordinary movement speed. At first, Sho seems superior to Shinra because he has the power to manipulate the universe as if he could stop time. But with strong determination, Shinra could finally offset his attack by using the power of lightning as fast as light. Shinra can even activate the Adora Link, making Sho look back at their memories of the past when they were still a family. Shinra then tried to convince Sho to be back with him by showing memories of their mother's family until he unknowingly started crying. Shinra then hugged him and said that he would take Sho away from darkness to a brighter place. Unfortunately, a member of the holy priestess named Hamiya suddenly appears and hypnotizes Sho to stab Shinra with a sword. Hamiya then reveals the holy priest's true plan, wherein the priest wants to gather all the owners of the Adola Burst to create a great disaster. After that, she immediately hypnotized Sho back and ordered him to leave that place. Just as Hamiya was about to take Shinra away, Arthur and the rest of the 8th Division troop came to block and save Shinra. After that, the members of the 8th Division took Shinra, who had been seriously injured, to the 6th Division headquarters to ask for help from Captain Huang to save him. It turns out that Captain Huang has the power to heal people using the power of fire, which she turns into a white snake. A few days after undergoing intensive treatment, Shinra finally woke up and recovered. Not long after, Captain Burns goes to Shinra to tell him what happened 12 years ago. He explains that it turns out that the person who caused the fire 12 years ago was Sho, who suddenly activated the power of Adora Burst, while the fireman that Shinra saw when the fire broke out was his mother, who had turned into a fireman. As the incident occurred, a member of the Holy Priestess appeared and controlled the firemen to bring Sho to them. Captain Burns deliberately lied to Shinra by saying that Sho and his mother died because he wanted to protect him from the group of holy priests. The next day, Shinra tells Captain Obi that he saw the shadow of the captain of the 4th Division, Soichiro Haig, and Isadora Link, so he intends to meet Haig to investigate it. Shinra then tells Captain Obi that the fireman he saw in his house was his mother, who had been transformed by Sho into a fireman. Therefore, he is determined to find a way so he can return the fireman to a normal human. The anime ends. The moral that can be learned from this anime is that when people see us as monsters or bad guys, we shouldn't let all their views influence us, because the one who can define who we really are is ourselves.